30 seconds.
Just like the one-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing to you.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh. You can do that cover at the end if you want.
But it's white-winged dove, right? I've been saying one-winged dove my entire life. Well, I'm changing it. Get Stevie on line one.
Wide.
Wide wing? Yeah, wide-winged dove. I like it.
Thank you for tuning in to KEXP at 90.3 FM here in Seattle, streaming around the world at kexp.org. I'm Cheryl Waters down here in the studios with our good friends, the Mountain Goats. Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Your latest album, In League with Dragons, and it looks like you're going to play a little potpourri of songs for us today.
Right.
I appreciate that.
I didn't feel like just writing four from the record we're working. That just feels crass, you know. So.
All righty. Well, whatever you want to do is fine with us. But you're going to start us off with a song from the new album. It's the Mountain Goats live on KEXP.
Dig around in the garbage, save up some halibut bones in a jar, scrape a winter's worth of salt deposits from the rusty frame of my car. Ask the experts. Maybe they'll know. Call up my teacher in Cambridge, see what he remembers. Throw white phosphorus in the fireplace, search for clues in the embers. Call the hotline. Give them a phony last name. Trying to find an antidote for strychnine. Trying to find an antidote for strychnine. Time's running short, only seems to run shorter. Have some supplies sent from up just past the northern border. Keep a line out. To the people who share the long view. Only share my research with sick lab rats like me, caught behind the beakers and the Erlenmeyer flasks, cut off from the world. I may not ever get free, but I may. One day. Trying to find an antidote for strychnine. Trying to find an antidote for strychnine. So many suffering from the same affliction, coming up on the breakthrough. gang. Dig down amongst my calculations, check my math. Up there on the surface, everybody's getting ready for the bloodbath. Stem the tide. They're calling down for reinforcements. Trying to find an antidote for strychnine. Trying to find an antidote for strychnine.
You're listening to the Mountain Goats live on KEXP. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
How about another one?
Sure. Do we do Belgian things, right? So change guitars.
I'll let people know then that song, An Antidote for Strychnine, on the Mountain Goats' latest album, In League with Dragons. Tonight they're playing at Neumos here in Seattle.
This was on We Shall All Be Healed, which was actually recorded right here in Washington State with Brand Eggleston assisting behind the boards. It's called Your Belgian Things. The men came here to get your Belgian things. They'll store them for you in an airplane hangar. There's guys in biohazard suits, mud caking on their rubber boots. They've come to keep your pretty things from danger. To get your Belgian things. They'll spend the whole day hauling them downstairs. I shot a roll of 32 exposures. My camera groans beneath the weight it bears. I can see you in my sleep, playing the points for all your work. Walking gingerly across the bruised earth. The men came here to get your Belgian things. Their walls cried through the door and went fluorescent. Their boots were black and shiny, all your treasures gleamed like stars, bones from deep down in the Fertile Crescent. There's too much information in the pipes. I saw the mess you left up in the east bedroom. A tiger's never gonna change its stripes. I guess. But Jesus, what a mess. One way in and no way out. To get your Belgian things, and I alone was here to see them do it. I wish you had a number where you are. It's hard with no one here to help me through it, but I can see you in my sleep, playing the points for all you're worth, walking gingerly across. It's funny. You play a song for a decade or more, right? And then I'm playing it and thinking about the way the energy develops. And that song, not in terms of the chords themselves, but just in terms of the way the energy develops, is rooted in a song called "Panic Beach" on Maria McKee's first record. Do you know that? It reminded me of that. So if you don't know "Panic Beach" by Maria McKee, that first Maria McKee record is an absolute work of genius. Anyway, we are now going to play "Magpie" from the Sunset Tree. Say whatever comes to mind. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Feed the kittens in the kitchen. Set food out for the strays. Work hard to do your best. The magpie will have his way. Fill your mouth with berries by the full light of the moon. Work all night if you have to. The magpie comes at noon. Shore up the crucifixes above the archways and the doors. The magpie will come at midday, and you will go down on all fours. Yes, you will.
The Mountain Goats live on KEXP. So happy to have you here today, playing at Neumos tonight here in Seattle. Again, thank you so much, all of you, for coming in. I'm super excited that you played your Belgian things. It's impossible for me to just pick one song that I love most from the Mountain Goats as being a 25-year fan, but I looked it up once, and I've probably played that song the most on the radio. Something
Thank you.
about
I appreciate that. It was one that I remember. So there's an F-sharp minor in the bridge, right? Probably the first appearance of that chord in any of my songs. You do these things when you're writing over the course of a long life where you level up. You notice yourself stretching a little further. And guitar is not my first instrument. And I remember getting to that and going, oh, well, that's actually more complicated, and wondering whether I'd remember it or not, like whether I could do it live. It's like when you do things like that, you have to decide how much can I stand messing it up and apologizing to Peter later. You know? But I mean, it's like, to me, that's that's a song that I consider a growth moment where I get better at what I do when I write that song. So.
Well, it sounds fantastic with this band, which brings me to my first question. Your latest album, In League with Dragons, is such a wide-ranging record, and Cadaver Sniffing Dog and Younger were the first two songs I heard from it earlier in this year. And I say this as an ardent 25-year fan of the Mountain Goats. There was just something incredibly special about it. I couldn't put my finger on it.
God bless you, thank you.
But the music just kept speaking to me in a way.
It's the playing, man. It's the people I have playing on the record. I'm proud of the songs and everything, but what happened in there, and I barely play on this record at all. I play on Cadaver Sniffing Dog, and the title track, and Doc Gooden, and I think that might be it. I mean, otherwise, I wrote the songs, and my versions you can hear, but like I had these guys and Bram Geelan and Tom Gill and Owen Pallett and Johnny Spence. That's those organ blasts you hear on Doc Gooden that are so incredible. That's Johnny Spence. And the guitar solo on Cadaver Sniffing Dog is Tom Gill. And it's like, I am blessed to work with great musicians, and that's what brings my stuff to life.
Well, introduce these great musicians.
I haven't met them before today, but I understand that they're...
I can actually
this
introduce
guy,
them.
This is Beard, and he... No, it's Matt Douglas, who I love more than I can say, and who's from Raleigh, and plays is a woodwinds guy. That's how we got to know him. But he also plays literally every other instrument known to man, except the oud. He has a thing against the oud. Peter Hughes, who I've been working with since 1994, if you count the backing vocal on Cubs in 5, or 95 when he replaces Rachel for the European tour, and his life is forever changed. And this is John Worster from The Right Profile, and
beloved by so many.
And Marat and Superchunk and Bob Mould, and
we don't actually have enough time for you to go through all those.
2007, I think, right? That was our first tour together. First record was Heretic Pride. And I think when John joined, that's when what me and Peter had been doing really found it's the fullness of its voice. I mean, that's really when the band's that's my new start date for the band. There's 3 start dates. There's me by myself, and then there's 95 95 through 2001 where things go different, and then when John comes along. So.
You've definitely...
I know Matt is offended, but like...
He wants an era. He wants a Mountain Goats era.
And of course, we're changing the name of the band now that Matt has joined. So please, sorry, but he's hiding.
You've definitely changed and evolved your creative process over the last quarter of a century from your cassette boombox days. Yeah. But this time I heard you made a pretty big change by letting go a little bit of control and turning things over. You mentioned Owen Pallett when you were talking about people working on the record, but it sounds like you gave him some significant input on this. Talk a little bit about that.
I mean, it's comical how different it really is, because generally speaking, I sort of, I do a lot of backseat driving in production more than most artists do. I mean, everybody argues this stuff, but most artists are a lot more open to other people's ideas than I usually am, right? Usually I hear something, if I like it, I say yes, and if I don't like it, I say no, and I don't want to hear any defenses of it. It's like that's actually the dynamic of those things. Like, well, hey, I have this guitar part that I would like you to entertain, and I don't hear any tremolo on this. Well, but listen to the part. No, right? I've had big arguments about this. I remember the specific songs, and I sort of, especially in mix, you get into big arguments about stuff, and some of this was just fatigue. I was like, look, I've done it my way for a long time, and so what if I try the way other people do it, for a record, and if I don't like the results, I don't have to stick with that. I can go back, but just go ahead and try something else. And it worked out. We had a long discussion about it. We had a band meeting, which we don't do band meetings, but we had a little meeting about it upstairs at Mr. Small's in Pittsburgh. We're waiting to play, and we talked, and we started naming producers who'd made records we liked. But I don't really listen to records made by people whose music sounds like me. I listen to heavy metal and stuff, and so the people I can name aren't really going to be useful for our picture. And I think, was it Peter? Were you the guy who said, what about Owen?
I don't remember.
I don't remember, but somebody... It was John Worcester. Yeah, of course it was because Matt, from him all good things flow. We have to be cool about it. So, yeah. So Owen's name came up. Does Owen do some producing? I've known Owen for years, right? And that solved the problem of if I was going to hire somebody to do that. Peter was like, he said something I remember. It's like, that's going to be a struggle for you, especially if it's somebody you don't know.
It has to be somebody that you trust, that you have an established trust with.
Yeah. And let's be clear, I don't trust Owen either, but I trust him more than I trust other people. Right? So,
you trust his taste.
Yeah, well, no, I wouldn't go that far. I would just say that the degree of distrust is lesser.
We love you, Owen.
I love Owen, but I don't trust anybody.
I definitely hear some orchestral flourishes on there, which I wouldn't be surprised to hear.
There's a symphony orchestra on 2 tracks, yeah.
Came from Owen, but did he make you stretch in any ways?
So Owen's thing was largely getting us to play the song as is, because what we tend to do live, and we sort of live in the live arena. Records are great and mystical and amazing, but playing it live is what it's about. And live music always makes things bigger and looser, or should, in my opinion. That's one thing I think you get from us that you may not get from other bands, is you're not going to hear the song. The song's not going to be the same from night to night. It goes places, it develops. It's kind of a jazz way of thinking of music to my ear. But Owen was like, every time, if I was at the piano I could show you, but like, well here, so at the end of Strychnine, the way we're playing it is this little sort of krautrocky vamp where I'm playing, right? 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now it's in my nature, once I've done that twice, to start going. And Owen would shoot that down and go, no, play the thing that you wrote. Play exactly the way you wrote it. And like Bram put everything, he transcribed everything for piano, which I was like, we have not brought in charts before of my stuff. We brought in horn charts. And Owen had brought string charts, but everything was charted out. And Owen's big thing was to play what's there, right? And to play it as is without being, without trying to, sort of insinuate too much of your personality into your playing. That is a trust thing also, because when you play like that, your personality will always come through in your playing. You don't have to over-emote, right? I don't think we live in an age where people think too much emoting is even possible, but I think it is. And the songs really got more voice from us listening to each other's playing and playing what was there, instead of sort of trying to make sure, I mean, it's just natural, whatever instrument you're playing, to try and play a little extra so it jumps out of the mix at people, so you're the one they remember, right? But actually, John doesn't have to play any extra fills on Younger for that drum part to absolutely just rage, So yeah, or the sax solo at the end, but that's a whole different story.
I'm curious, John, Peter, and Matt, what was the experience like for you?
It was awesome. I mean, the other thing that Owen did was he was really involved in kind of the pre-production when we were talking about arranging songs. The stuff that we do together. We kind of looped him in on that.
What is pre-production, Peter Hughes?
Pre-production just meaning like getting together and playing the songs before we record them, and kind of deciding how we're going to arrange them. And but Owen had some really just awesome ideas about just the way that we were going to, John's demos are kind of, they're the song, they're kind of a rough draft of the song. And
they're great. It's really good.
Sterling and unimpeachable. But in a lot of cases, Owen just came in and just said, hey, what if we just restructure the whole rhythm part? And the Clemency for the Wizard came. Yeah. That's just the stuff that John and I are doing on bass and drums. I feel like that's a part that I would not have come up with on my own.
I'm not smart enough to have come up with that.
Well, that was Owen.
Some of that was amazing, where it's like, so do this, and like, where's the beat on the kick in that one? It's like on the,
ba-boom, ba-boom.
Yeah, none of us would put that kick there. Yeah. And it really works nicely against the strum pattern. And the thing is, some of my demos, they have they're really nice, and then trying to get an energy that at least mirrors them has long been a source of frustration for me. Like, the song can be really good, but the demo had something really unique that goes missing when you make it a normal rock song. And with that, instead, it just really brought it to life. I'll never forget that, because everybody was playing on it at once. I think all of the musicians involved were playing at the same time.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was really cool, was bringing in the other, we called them the Canadians, that Owen brought down with him, Tom and Johnny. and Bram. And we didn't really, that was kind of a trust thing too, because we never really brought in, I mean, we had brought in like outside musicians that were friends of ours, and we knew Tom. But that was definitely like, oh, you know, are these guys just going to play all the overdubs? Or are we just going to not play anything? You know, we'll just like do the basics. But what happened was, we just ended up, because we just had a bunch of people and it was a big tracking room. And so everybody is like a lot of those songs, the reason that they sound so organic, those recordings, is because it's literally everybody playing at once. We're all tracking live. You know, you've got 7 or 8 people. Owen would be in the room with us playing piano or whatever.
Yeah, that's him on the piano and Younger, right?
Yeah. And so what would happen was like you'd get like, you know, just in the space of an hour, we would just work up this, you know, like really beautiful arrangement, and then you all right, let's try a take, and you track the song, and then and typically what happens, you know, when you get a take that you like, is you go into the control room, you listen back, and you immediately start thinking about, okay, what can we add? What are the, you know, what's the next move with this to kind of, you know, develop it more. And with this, it was just like, well, there's nothing to add. It's done. We were everything that you would add was being played live. And it was, and just having like 8 people in a room playing music live together was just so much fun.
But for the
and
Mountain
so
Goats,
satisfying.
like a lot of musicians discovered that very young.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people, especially in Canada, so many scenes are sort of you know, modular like that, where there's like 11, like the Hidden Cameras people or whatever.
Because they have support for the arts,
well,
and they can afford to do that.
Yeah, you and your communism, whatever. No, but they do that. It's just a way of, in Montreal and in Vancouver, there's always been sort of like everybody plays on everybody else's records. There's a lot of scenes like that, and whereas the Mountain Goats have always been pretty like mistrustful of bringing in extra people. You know, there's me, then there's Peter, and then like 10 years later there's a drummer. So, and then Matt comes in and rescues us. Sure.
Well, John Worster, being such a significant part of the band and having played with John for so many years, how do you think he handled putting the baton down?
Oh, I thought he was great. You know, I was uncertain how this would play out, but I was pleasantly shocked by how you rolled with it.
Thank you. I mean, the thing is, like, it helps that I wanted that response. I wanted the guys. I knew they didn't think I was gonna be able to do it, you know. And but the thing is, like, I mean, 1, there was the trust issue, and 2, Owen was really gentle and good about it. But like once I had done this one thing, I was like, okay, well, here's the thing. So I sent him links to my demos, which are all in a file storage place, but one of them, I told him, and I write, as you'll be stunned to learn that my cover letter that accompanies something is never just, here's the song. It's like 4,000 words and includes descriptions of how to plant cactus or whatever. And
I am stunned.
And I mean, it's just abominable, and I thank my band for putting up with me. But yeah, so I said, here's a bunch of stuff. So in this file here, you will find these 2 songs that are for the album, and the rest are from something else that I didn't mean to do. And there's only 1 in here, and the other 11, ignore those. He didn't read any of that. He just downloaded all the songs, like a greedy file-sharing millennial. And and he said, okay, so here's Passaic, here's the single. And I said, oh, well, no, Passaic is not one of the songs. And he said, we were having a video conference, and he said, well, I mean, you can do what you want with your record, but to me, this is the single, right? And I thought, okay, that's a weird, okay, why not? You know, if you think it's good. And I thought it was a fine song, you know, but Owen was adamant that like, that's the one. It's an early REM sounding song. I've never listened to one of those early REM records all the way through. And so I was having to sort of take Owen's frames of reference and incorporate. It was super, it was fascinating. And the other thing we're leaving out is the mix, which is Shawnee Gandhi, to whom I gave the freedom that all of my mixers would have loved to have had, but that I haven't had the maturity to give to somebody until this year. And she's an utter genius and a craftsperson of the highest order, who was handing in new mixes into the 11th hour of mastering when we weren't asking for them. Right, we say we're done, records done, and she's texting me and saying, "Oh, I was up late last night, and I think I got something really cool with the tone of the sax on Younger here. Don't master that one. Here's another." And she's just, I mean, people don't often look to the credits to see who actually we can't do this without. But Shawnee's work on this, anything she records or mixes, you should buy because she's a genius.
Well, it sounds like you would do that this way again. That this process works.
Nah, I think we'll go back to the boombox. I think
back to the boombox.
After all is said and done, No, I mean, I have a bunch of new songs and we're talking about what to do next. Yeah.
Well, you released this album in April, and the day of the release, you did a live stream from nearby here.
Which is the coast in Renton, yes. I was just there yesterday.
That's fun. And I do want to get to one more song and then play some more music, but I do want to ask a little bit. Obviously, you write the songs, and it's always a great surprise and delight to see what your record's going to be about and what area of your mind has been mined. And talk a little bit about what this record is for you.
Well, so that's sort of that Owen's process of drawing from the discard pile, what we would call in magic graveyard return, right? Cards that have been sent to your graveyard.
Of course.
That you then, what's that?
Of course.
Of course, you know what I'm talking about. Well, you're a strong Rakdos Orzhov kind of dude, so, but Owen pulling these songs, because one of the folders had what had been the beginnings of a rock opera, right? About this seaside community in the care of an aging wizard whose powers are declining, and they're under siege by sea, right? And I wrote 7 or 8 songs in this cycle, and then I decided I didn't want to do it. I mean, I do things like that a lot, right? There are a lot of abandoned projects in my notebooks, and I don't feel bad about them. They just go away. The titles get harvested, lines come back, or they don't. I don't worry about it. But when he started pulling from that pile and saying, oh, well, this comes in and this comes in, I started looking at the underlying themes of the stories, because that's the thing about genre fiction is it's just clothes, right? It's a way of dressing up the same themes that you write anything else in, and that connected me to things. I started talking about this in Unicorn Tolerance, to my relationship now to the themes that inspired me when I was a child, right? Which were dragons and unicorns and high fantasy and stuff like that.
It's a wonderful record. It's called In League with Dragons, and you're going to leave us with a song from that?
Yes, this is one that was originally called Cult of the Cornered Possum, but in the session I decided that was unwieldy and it didn't need anything more complicated than Possum by Night. Its narrator is a possum.
When the house lights all go dark, I shuffle on down to the park. Spent stars in the winter sky, days of refuge in short supply. All you parasites climb aboard. All you vagabonds, praise the Lord. When the compost pile grows high, climb to the top if I try. Long-haul truckers still wide awake, guard their pathways for Jesus' sake. All you garbage trucks to the curb, true sons of the living word. Try not to get stuck in the intake vent. Grow fat and grow old and go blind and be content. All you pack dogs, have your say. Let me just find my own way. The moon in the trees, my guide. Walk with my jaw hinged wide. Once more unto the breach. spots that the light can't reach. Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was beautiful. That was Possum by Night from the new album by the Mountain Goats called In League with Dragons. Thank you all so much for coming by.
Sure thing. Thanks.
And you can have fun with them tonight at Numo's here in Seattle. Tomorrow they'll be at the Commodore Ballroom in Vancouver, then heading to Eugene and Portland. Lots of opportunities to have fun with the Mountain Goats.
Come to the Vegas show. Everybody come to Las Vegas.
All right, you heard it here. You've got it tuned to KEXP Seattle. Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.